decided, let's go ahead and start walking down. And here I let Greg back on it. So, like Charles said, we got more than we bargained for. And as we were heading out, I was concerned that, is this thing going to follow us? So we obviously were using our headlamps on the way out. About every 7,500 yards, we would dark out on the way out as we were walking. And I would just scan 360 degrees to see if I could see if this thing was following us or if there were any others in the area. So, we did that all the way out, probably, a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile back to Charles's truck. And never seen anything. And as soon as we got back to Charles's truck, we're taking off our snake gaiters, our backpacks, and we're parked at a locked gate. There's about a 60-foot hill at the top of the ridge behind us. And that creature just let out this crazy roar. I mean, what I would compare it to, I've heard on YouTube, I think it's the 1984 or 94 Ohio Howler, an audio that was captured. And this vocalization went on for about 8 to 10 seconds. And I'm really freaked out, and I told Charles, give me your keys, I'm driving. I want out of here. And no sooner than we were opening up the truck doors 180 degrees away from where this thing was on the hill and it was vocalized, we start hearing whoops from a second creature. And this is the only gravel road now. We've got to drive by this place. So I was thinking we just got to get out of here and just relax for a minute. Because the adrenaline high that I was on, it was still running. It was pumping adrenaline. So we get the vehicle. I'm driving Charles's truck. He's in the passenger side, obviously. And we're driving out. And the area, where that second creature had vocalized, all of a sudden I hear a boom and I sort of feel the truck vibrate a little bit. This is a Chevy S10 truck. And I thought maybe Charles's weapon went off. It was such a loud boom, and I asked him that, and I said, "Are you okay? What was that?" And he's like, "I don't know." And just said, "Floor, just get out of here." So we finally get back to somewhat civilization on a paved road, and we get out of the wood, and we can see right behind the cab of the truck where a rock had hit truck bed right in the radius, about 10 inches behind the cab, just barely missing Charles. And it put a good dent, sort of, because in that radius, sheet metal, you got rigidity of strength that's so much stronger. And that was quite of a night on that. That little gravel road is like 6.5 miles long, and there's no houses or turnoffs on it. It's just, I guess, the fire access road for the forestry. So they keep both sides of the road cut back about 15 or 20 feet. So whatever has thrown this rock, I was looking, just as a natural instinct as you're driving out these roads to, look at both sides from where you can see. To the edge of the woods. And didn't see anything. Whatever had thrown it was a good 50 or 60 feet, if not further, back in the woods. And it literally just about came through the window. The accuracy of its throw, that or it was just really lucky. But just if we'd been a second later, it would have come right through the open window and hit me. This was probably a mile from where we had the vocal. We had, turned around and started out. And it was such an odd feeling that I felt floored. Even though we were both armed and the security of a truck, I still said, go. And we went ahead and went. We, like, if you're getting ready to have a wreck,
you don't think about putting your seatbelt on, there's just not that time. And that's what this was like. This reason nobody could hit record. And, you know, who would have ever thought that we were going to see something like that? I mean, it was just overwhelming. Just very, very interesting night.
Looking through the thermal, what did the creature look like?
So, its head was, I'm not going to say quite the size of a watermelon, but it was, 2.5 times the size of a watermelon head, is my estimation. It didn't have like a gorilla point, a sagittal crest, I think is the term, but it was somewhat pointed around its eyes. It had a high brow ridge, and right above its eyebrows, I could tell there was no hair around its nose. It did have hair above its lip, and sort of a hair on its sides and its chin like a human. Its lips were very thin, its nose was very flat. And, this is just seeing through a thermal, you're seeing the different colors of heat. And while it was looking at us, I could actually see it sort of raising its head back, sniffing, and its upper lip opening. And I'd imagine, like, it was very similar, the overall appearance, to like a National Geographic magazine picture of a Cro-Magnon man. And, it had a lot of human characteristics, and it had some, gorilla characteristics to it.
And like 6 foot, 275. We went back a few days later, and I stood by the tree there that had the fork in it, and I was seeing like, from its mid-chest on up, and shoulders on each side of the tree. And then I had Greg go back to where we were at, and I stood behind that tree, and he was just barely seeing the top of my head. So it was 7.5 feet, possibly 8 foot, and then had to have been 36 inches wide in its shoulders to have stuck out on either side of the tree there. It's just a massive, massive creature. It moved so swift. I mean, you couldn't even really hear shuffling of the feet or anything. I mean, it was like, when it would take steps, it was like it was hitting on the ball of its foot or something. You just didn't hear the leaves cracking or leaves rustling or anything at all. It just moved in a really, really quiet way.
Yeah, that is interesting. And that's the only creature you guys saw during that time on thermal?
Correct, yeah. We later in June of this year, there's an endurance race that's ran. It's called the Kentucky Warhammer. It starts at Cumberland Falls. It's a 50-mile and 100-mile endurance race, and they run that on the Sheltowee Trace. That's a trail that goes all through the Daniel Boone National Forest. So runners, they start at Cumberland Falls, they run north on the Sheltowee Trace Trail, they go to Livingston, Kentucky, which is 50 miles, and then they turn around from Livingston and run back to Cumberland Falls. So these runners do this day and night. I mean, once they start running, I think the record for males is 25 or 26 hours to make this run. But part of the requirements are each runner, they have a safety plans, and you've got to have a water bottle and a working headlamp. So we thought that, all these runners out there at nighttime, that's really going to get these creatures' attention. So we had went out to London again, and sort of northern London, and jumped on the Sheltowee Trace, and we've got the thermal just looking around. It's in the morning, the forest is still cool, so there's no light that's come in, warming up the leaves. And we had met a gentleman there. He had a son that was running the race, and we talked with him for a little bit, and we continued on the Chiltowee Trace, and we made a left off the road onto a road called Fish Trap Road. And about 50 yards on that road, we were on top of the ridge line, and I'm looking on both sides down the hills, and I noticed what appeared to be two eyes. But at first I thought they might be two leaves, and then I just continued to look at it through the thermal, and I was, correcting myself. I'm like, the sun's not even broke over this hill yet. That can't be two leaves. So I watched the open, and I knew that we had something. And that's when I told Charles. I continued to look at it, and then I was pointing while I was looking at, telling Charles so he could see exactly where this thing was at. If he could see anything with his eyes, and he couldn't, so I passed the thermal off to him. He verified, yeah, I see those two eyes, and I'm just looking in the same direction, and I'm not seeing anything. I just see leaves, trees, and still a little bit dark in this valley. So he gives the thermal back to me, and we continue. We walk toward it about 10 or 15 foot, start going down the hill a little bit, and then to the left of this creature that we see its eyes, one is standing up, leaning against a tree, and he comes out, he's leaning forward, looking in our direction. So we stop, and I'm telling Charles what I'm seeing, and the big one that stepped out, leaning up against the tree, probably looked at us for about 8 or 9 seconds, and bam, both of them were gone. They both disappeared. And we had went back the following weekend and got some good dimensions on the one that was standing up with the thermal. I've got some still photos of the thermal with that, and he was about 7 foot 6 inches plus or minus an inch or two. He was really big.
And you can even see the outline of his shoulder. I'm guessing for their hair is so big, and for that morning too, had covered their fur. It just wasn't giving good signals, but you can clearly see the outline of the shoulders. It's huge. And there's a damn log around the tree, and most of the trees they just raise up. Can you see that?
Yeah, like Charles was saying, in the pictures we sent, you can clearly see the tall Sasquatch is standing up. You can see he's got his mouth open with the heat signature, and you can see his eyes and that matches up all the other things with too. There's just no, I guess, more heat being released in those areas with no fur or hair holding the heat in.
See the outline of his shoulders? It's massive.
Yeah, I see that. I appreciate you guys sharing. So, like, the photos you sent over, that's the second encounter on thermal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And on the first encounter, whenever you heard the roar, the vocalization, and followed up by the whoops, what do you think they were trying to say to each other or to you guys?
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversation about this, and we both sort of agree that we think we made it interrupted, that we hunt for them. So from our experience so far with 2 encounters, these things are never solo. But the first encounter, that this thing running through the forest at nighttime, there must have been a purpose for him to be burning all those calories.
Yeah. And you think the creature had no idea that you guys were able to see it, and then maybe it realized that you guys were observing it?
Yeah, I think we probably freaked him out. He freaked us out. Because like I said, we were totally dark, blacked out, light. It was very quiet, we whisper, and here he is running through the forest, and all of a sudden he's hearing mine, hear me, extra good, stuff, and control, but play by play is what he's doing, and then he came in closer to it. And I'm guessing, what I always thought was weird too is, this creature at nighttime, so the forest is really dark, there's a little bit of moon, but he is still hiding behind trees at nighttime. Obviously, he has wonderful eyesight running through the forest at nighttime, and I think he thinks that he can probably see just as good, if not better, than him. And that's the reason for trying to camouflage and continue to hide at nighttime behind trees and investigate about getting rid of himself.
And that was on the Rock Castle Narrow Trail, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think that is look it up. Yeah, the Rock Castle Narrow Trail in Kentucky.
Okay. Yeah, very good. And you said you had another encounter after the one you just mentioned.
Yeah, so that encounter happened summer. When Rock Castle Narrow Trail, the Kentucky War Handle race was going on, and I think that was something along those lines. I don't remember the exact date on it.
And that sighting was around 8:30 in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, if you would go into it and describe as much detail as possible.
Yeah, so like I was saying, that sighting, we had seen, I had the thermal, and I was looking down from the rooftop down in the valley, and I noticed these hot spots, and I got to looking at it, and it looked like eyes, and I'd seen one of them blink, so I knew we were on something, but, from the moment that I seen his eye blink, until the second one standing up, came out, and showed itself, and looking in our direction, that entire encounter these guys, once they're made, they seem to be really good.
And in that 30 or 40 seconds from when they shut it off, it was morning. You could not see any movement, you could not hear leaves rustling, anything at all. I mean, they just went from being there to gone. They don't make any noise when they travel. That's the first sighting, the one that was at night. We were on kind of the top of a cliff line that runs down to there, and there's a choke point. There's really just only one way for several miles that you get from the top of the cliff down to the river falls. And I've always felt like maybe that night it was traveling at a pretty good pace, and then the other one that was obviously further out that answered it back in the truck. I was wondering maybe if they were trying to herd deer or something to that choke point. Anytime you're fleeing, it always makes sense to run downhill because you can go down a whole lot quicker than you can go up. And I think nature falls into that. Anytime something's being chased, instinct to go downhill. And maybe there was another one at the top of the choke point there to ambush whatever, that the others were able to stir up. I don't know, I've gone over it 1,000 times in my head, and that's really the only thing I can think of is that, they were on a hunting trip, because it would just make it too good of time. When Greg first spotted it, it was on a mission. It wasn't just walking through the woods picking rocks. It was going somewhere. At a later date, we had gone and kind of walked the trail of where it had come, and there were three deer that ran the exact same path.